She's right. Paula's not, but she is.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and open the meeting of November 10th, 2025 at 7 o'clock. We'll start with a roll call.
Alexander Graham here.
Dave Gavigan.
Tom Bouchard,
Jonathan Barnett.
Bob Ketter.
we have a full board, we're ready to go. All right, so our first hearing is 7:03, so we gotta wait 3 minutes. Can we do the minutes? We have two sets of minutes. We have 8:25 and 9:08, and I think there's a full board on each of those. Who prepared the minutes?
A combination of friends. The sewer department,
Very well done.
Valerie and Paula. So we thank you.
Very well done.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 8th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. The next ones are September 8th.
No, August 25th.
August 25th.
Oh, sorry.
I wasn't here for that.
Yeah, did it opposite.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of August 25th, 2025 as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Jonathan abstains. It's a 401. And now it is time for our first hearing. Do we have a hearing notice?
We do. The Kingston Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, November 10th, 2025 at 7:03 PM at the Kingston Townhouse, 26 Evergreen Street, Kingston, Massachusetts, in room 200 on the petition of Osprey Realty Trust, Mark and Cheryl A. Guidoboni. Trustees for approval of a special permit per the Town of Kingston zoning bylaw, Section 5, Table of Uses, in order to convert office space to residential use on the second floor over a first floor business use on land owned by the applicant at 6 Old Orchard Lane, Kingston, Plymouth County, Massachusetts, and is shown on the designated Kingston Assessor's Map 68, Lot 9, in a commercial district. A copy of the application and plans are available for inspection at the Town Clerk's Office, 26 Evergreen Street, Kingston. The petitioner or his or her representative and any person interested or wishing to comment on the proposal should appear at the time and place designated.
Val?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you a staff report, which is in the form of a draft vote. And just reviewing with you that this is an allowed use by special permit in this commercial district. We have an existing building. There's no changes to the property, other than the renovations to the second floor. We had it reviewed by the other departments and didn't receive any concerns or comments from any of the other departments with respect to the application. We have drafted conditions that it would be, and Mr. Guidoboni has already had the opportunity to review these, that would allow no more than 2 residential dwelling units within the building, and as shown in the architectural plans that we've had received with this. And prior to the occupancy permit or building permit, we'd want to make sure this special permit is recorded, that any back taxes, fines, or fees owed to the town, if any, are paid off, that exterior lighting will comply with our prevention of light pollution bylaw, that the fire department requested a lockbox for the commercial portion of the building, and one parking space shall be ADA compliant if required by the building code. We noted that there's no dumpster pad shown. At a future date, if a dumpster is installed, it needs to be screened. And because it's gonna have residences above, we ask that the trash collection by truck be after 8 a.m. And this is Mr. Guidaboni.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for considering our request. So, as you're probably aware, this is a transitional property right on the line between commercial and residential. And residential is a family neighborhood, of which my family is the neighborhood. The commercial building was constructed in 2013. 2014, is this not on? Sorry.
All right, start over.
Okay.
Please.
Welcome. Thank you, everybody. So as you're aware, this is a transitional property that's on the edge of a commercial bordering residential property. The commercial use has not been an impact to the neighborhood that is mostly my family owned. In 2014, the building was finished. The offices were configured as the plan that you have in front of you at that time. There was no plan presented. Those were done when the occupancy permit was issued. That was the configuration in place. When we originally designed the offices, each unit has a private office, and then it has office space around it. Each one has a break room and a bathroom with a shower in it. So we had this in mind, and Paul Armstrong at the time encouraged us to move forward, and we got the bylaw approved by town meeting shortly after the construction of the building. We haven't actually gone through, which was town-wide, by the way, for commercial, and passed town meeting with either minimal or no opposition. So when we haven't got around to applying for the residential use because the office space up until COVID was pretty profitable. But at this point, since COVID, we really haven't I've had an empty unit pretty much the whole time. Currently, Wits End Computer occupies one half of the building using the office space upstairs. The other side is occupied by an electrician using the warehouse, and he'd like to occupy the upstairs either as an office or to use it as a residence for one of his employees that would be on site at the time. So when we designed it with the office space or residence over a full bay. Several of the folks that have reached out to me have said, well, I've got a food truck business and I'd like to live upstairs. Well, really can't do that at this point. So this is why we're going forward with it. The parking requirements are actually reduced by converting the units to residential. The sewer is adequate and the water is adequate to move forward with that. Building department would have to address, one of the issues that came up was the egress. So if these are independent individual units, they would have to have a secondary egress. That is an issue that it will be involved prior to beginning occupancy for this use. So at this point, Paul said the first part of this is to come and get the approval to move forward with the use change. There is already a lockbox with a master key in it for the entire building on site for the fire department, and so that's already in place. It's been in place since it was built, and a full alarm system's involved. Currently, when the alarm goes off, the door between the two units opens magnetically. It's released. I'm not sure if that's going to meet the requirements of the new building inspector, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to work out something with an emergency only, and if we put a pull in there so that if there is not a fire but there's still an emergency, somebody can pull, and then the door would come unlocked and they can use the other egress. Other than that, I don't think, that unless there's any questions. Oh, the dumpster, we have a dumpster on site, a 4-yard dumpster currently. It doesn't have a pad. It sits on crushed stone. I certainly could have a pad poured for it if that would be, make it more amicable. It's,
Yeah, our desire with that is to, with the pad and the screening, is to help protect the water quality by helping to prevent liquids from the dumpster seeping into the ground. You do have wetlands surrounding the area, so.
I understand.
Um,
That'd be, there wouldn't be any problem with doing that. And I assume it would have a rim around it to contain the waste from the dumpster.
That would be the goal.
Yeah.
And then it would be, it's already there, so I wouldn't argue that it has to be screened, but ideally, we would screen the dumpster from public view.
Gotcha.
But it's a private road, so it's already there. I'm not gonna push that.
No, there's nothing to screen it from, really. It's all commercial properties
Yeah.
around there.
Okay.
It's kind of a standalone property in a lot of ways.
Yep.
That's why I agree with you, Val. And so I think that's the only thing we have to add, and that the pad would be poured for the dumpster. I'm familiar with this building. I'm a plumbing inspector, and I've been there and looked at this when it was built. I don't know, how many years ago was that, Mark?
2014.
And everything had to be copper and cast iron because it was a commercial use. The question came up at the time, and I'm like, well, we don't have that in our bylaw right now for residential over commercial. Since then, that has changed. So everything, all the plumbing was copper and cast iron at the time, so I'm sure he'll leave it the way it is because it's all ready to go. But I don't see any problems with this. Val, you feel the same way, right?
I do, and it's consistent with the master plan as well.
It's really a nice unit, and it's all by itself. It's like there's nobody else really there. It's a no-brainer. Anybody have questions? Or concerns? Or anything? Comments? Nothing? Well, do we have a motion to approve, or to close the hearing, and then we could move forward with a motion to approve, or whatever you desire? So the first thing would be, if there's no comments, to have a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by David and seconded by Jonathan. All those in favor of closing the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It's a 5-0. Okay, now on the application, do we have a motion on the application, special permit?
To read the motion, you could read the first sentence of the staff report at its regularly scheduled meeting. The planning board voted blank to grant or deny a special permit with the conditions noted below for the subject property. You going for it, John?
I'll make, I'll make a motion. This first sentence on our notice?
Yeah, we're right under here. It says,
Nope,
on the staff report,
I'm on the wrong one. I'm on the wrong one. Hold on.
so
Take
it's
your time.
where it's highlighted on that first sentence, it says, the planning board voted
Yep,
blank to grant, or you could say something else, to grant a special permit with conditions as noted below.
I'll make a motion to approve the planning board vote to grant a special permit to the conditions noted below for the subject property in order to convert existing office space to residential two-bedroom apartments on the second floor over commercial use per table 5, use regulation of the town of Kingston zoning bylaw for mixed use in the commercial zone. with conditions listed, as Valerie stated.
Right, I'll second that.
Okay.
Second, whatever that was.
Right? You heard it.
I'm just looking at the conditions that Val had listed.
Yeah, I think
They're right here on,
Yeah.
page 3. We'll just edit it to not be, to be the pad with the lip.
Including the pad for the
Yeah.
dumpster.
to add the condition of a pad for the dumpster with a retaining lip.
Is that okay with you too, David? You
Yes.
seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, so that, along with the, yeah, so number 3 is deleted now because we're gonna have a pad in place of that. No more than 2 residential dwelling units within the building to be located on the second floor shown as in the plans. Any changes to the plans shall require additional review by the planning board prior to issuance of occupancy permit or a building permit. Evidence of recording of this special permit shall be provided to the building commissioner and planning board. Evidence of payment of any back taxes, shall be taken. All exterior lighting shall be inspected for compliance with prevention of light pollution, as Valerie had said. And
The lighting
lockbox
plan-
we know is there. Okay.
The lighting plan was approved by you guys originally when the building went in.
All right, so we know what we've, what the motion is, we know what the conditions are. Is everybody happy with that?
Yes, sir.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we have conditions, everybody prepared to vote?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor of the vote, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That would be a 5-0. Very
Thank you,
good, Mark.
everybody.
You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Alexander.
All right, so,
Good night, guys. Let that go.
yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. See you next time.
All right, hope everybody gets well.
Oh, yeah, we're on the mend.
Thank you for coming. Of course. Especially for this. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, so. Jason's here?
Yep. DeRosier, is that?
DeRozier of the Old Colony Planning Council will present a housing production plan update. Thank you for being here, Jason. You can go up and use the mic, that'd be great.
Jason's helping us with our housing production plan update, and he works for Old Colony Planning Council. And we've gotten a grant from the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs.
Thank you.
That's paying for
Thank
his
you.
services to help us with this update, along with a match from the local Affordable Housing Trust.
So this is all being paid for by grants that we wouldn't have gotten
That's right,
if
without.
we haven't voted for the
MBTA zone.
MBTA zoning. Would be paying out of pocket. Jason, go ahead. We're glad we're not paying for you, but go ahead.
So good evening, Chairman Bouchard, members of the Planning Board. My name is Jason DeRozier. I'm the Senior Planner for Housing and Public Engagement at the Old Colony Planning Council. And in full disclosure, I was a resident of Kingston for a number of years. I lived with my grandmother on 3 2nd Brook Street as her primary caretaker while she lived in Kingston. The first step of the housing production plan update, because you have one from 2019 that is set to expire soon, by the end of 2025. So working on the update, which will keep you in compliance with the 40B requirements for a updated housing production plan. for the next 5 years, which for this one will be 2025 to 2030 or 2026 to 2030. I'm working out the years with EOHLC. For that, the first step was to do a public survey. The survey was closed in early or mid to late September, sorry. We had approximately 156 survey respondents. 91, almost 92% were residents of the town of Kingston. 8% were either business owners or had some sort of connection to Kingston. They worked in Kingston, some sort of connection. For demographics, 34, almost 35%, 34.8% have lived in Kingston for 20 or more years. Over half have lived in the town for over 10 years. 28, almost 29% live in two-person households. Of those households, 36%, 35.7% have households with seniors, those over the age of 65, and 41% live in households with children under the age of 18. Majority of survey respondents, almost 90%, 89.3%, are homeowners versus 7.4% are renters. 34% were 65 plus. Over half of survey respondents were over the age of 55. 72% were female, 22% male, and 22% either live in households or themselves report a disability or a chronic illness. Regarding housing conditions and affordability, 76% say their home meets their current needs, whereas 23% say it does not. 56% cite high property taxes as the main issue for their current housing situation. 57, almost 58% report affordability challenges. 15.7, almost 16% have difficulty paying housing costs. 34% could afford the median sales price in the town of Kingston, which is approximately $685,000, and 34% could afford current fair market rent levels if they had to move. So generally, for this area, fair market rent is between $2,000 and $2,800, depending on bedroom size or unit size. Nearly 1 in 5 households spends over 30% of their income on housing, whereas 15% spend over 50%. If you spend over 30% of your household income on rent, you're considered cost burdened. Anything over 50%, you're considered severely cost burdened. So those are just survey respondents. For Kingston as a whole, for renters, 16.6% are cost burdened, spending 30% or more of their household income on rent. 15% are severely cost burdened. For homeowners, 18.6% are cost burdened, spending 30% or more, and 18.8, almost 19% are severely cost burdened, spending 50% or more of their household income on housing costs. 97.4%, almost 98%, do not receive income-based housing assistance, which is not surprising because survey respondents were largely homeowners. For the populations who are least served by current housing in the town of Kingston, this is the top 8. First-time or first-generation homebuyers, 65%. Young families, 64%. Families earning under $80,000 a year, 60%. Recent college graduates or young professionals, 57%. Seniors, 55 plus, 48%. Unhoused individual or those at risk of losing their home, 43%. Veterans at 42%, and people with disabilities at 33%. On the reverse page, on views on housing affordability and opportunities in Kingston, 68% of respondents disagreed with the statement, our children can afford to remain in or return to Kingston as they start their own households. 68% disagreed with the statement, older residents have adequate alternatives for remaining in their communities as they age. And 54% of respondents disagreed with the statement, those who provide essential services in our community can afford to live here. Housing type opinions and preferences. When asked if the town of Kingston has too little of, adequate, or too much of, 44% said the town of Kingston has too little of duplexes, which are sort of two families. 46% answered just the right amount, so there was somewhat of a split there. 36% thought the town of Kingston has too little of townhouses. 52% answered just the right amount, and 35% thought the town of Kingston has too little of small multifamily, which is between 4 to 9 units. 45% answered they believe Kingston has just the right amount of those kinds of housing types. And when asked about the preferred types of housing, the top 6 are listed here. First, accessible housing, which we can think of as housing units with no stairs, roll-in showers, handrails at 70%. Green design housing that has low environmental impact, 64%. Smaller single-family homes, those that are under 1,800 square feet, 59%. Adaptive reuse of existing buildings, so converting non-residential buildings to residential use, was about 53%. The list is not there. And then tied for 5th, assisted living or memory cafe facilities and senior co-housing, which we can think of as sort of, lack of a better term, dorm room for adults, where you have sort of like private bedrooms, but shared amenities, shared kitchens, bathrooms, et cetera, with some amenity space on each floor, as well as on the ground floor at 57%. And then age-restricted housing for 55 plus, 54%. The least support was for supportive and transitional housing. 48% of survey respondents were opposed to that housing type. For policy and zoning support, so the survey was split between a couple of key target areas. One was policy and zoning, one was resources, increasing resources for housing, and then sort of planning. So this is looking at policy and zoning. Specifically, 81% of respondents supported a housing implementation roadmap, 65% supported criteria for town-owned parcels, 50% support single-family conversions to small multifamily, and 63% support joint housing and open space planning with the Conservation Commission, so cottage style sort of open space residential housing types. So in review or in summary, key themes emerging from the open-ended responses included affordability challenges, challenges with aging in place, the ability to age in place, the need for diverse housing types and community engagement. There was a number of affordability concerns. Respondents cited high property taxes, rising home values, and lack of downsizing options for seniors. Younger residents and families are increasingly priced out of town. There was a sentiment on growth. Residents expressed mixed feelings about development. There was support for smart infill, balanced with concerns about overdevelopment, infrastructure strain, and loss of the Kingston small town character, or perceived loss of the character of the town. For the desired housing types, strong support for smaller homes, 55 plus housing, accessible units, and adaptive reuse. There was moderate support for mixed use and townhouses, and opposition to large multifamily complexes. Residents value transparency, communication, and balance between preservation and progress. Many expressed a need for more education on affordable housing and its community benefits. And lastly, overall, Kingston residents are united around affordability challenges, but divided on growth and how to sort of meet the challenges of affordability. They seek balanced development that maintains community character while meeting changing needs. Support is strongest for smaller, diverse, and context-sensitive housing options that allow seniors to age in place and young families to put down roots. On the last page are just draft goals that have come out of the survey, making sure that what folks are identifying in the survey ultimately get sort of incorporated into the final housing production plan. These are similar to the goals that were included in the 2019 housing production plan, but they're sort of shifted a little bit. So they're focused on proactive planning for goal 1, producing and revitalizing, so expanding housing options for goal 2, zoning, potential zoning changes and adaptations for goal 3, preserving current affordable housing for goal 4, and education and engagement with community members is goal 5. And lastly, I've played around with some numbers in terms of housing production targets. So for new construction, targeting 20 units over a 5-year period, the preservation of 10 units, with a focus on renewing and extending expiring affordability restrictions, specifically on the Silver Lake homes, which expire in 2027, 23 Evergreen Street, which expire in 2034, and Kingston Pines, which also expire in 2034. Through these 30 units, that would put you roughly at 0.6% net growth for the subsidized housing inventory, which is slightly above the 0.3 to 0.5 growth per year that EOHLC likes to see. And I will mention that the new numbers for the SHI were released last week. Kingston was below 5%, the 5% threshold before that, and now you're just over at 5.18%, I think now. So making progress on that. But you want to make sure you preserve what you currently have so you don't fall further behind than you need to.
Very well done. That was amazing.
So for context, the housing production plan is something that the state wants towns to put together, and you set goals the way Jason just described that you are trying to hit. And if you hit those goals, it helps you with some control over if and when a 40B is approved in your community. So those are what's called safe harbor targets. So when you say 10 more units and preserve what we have, that's
Yeah,
going
the
to
20 new and the 10 preserved, yeah.
and some falling off over the next 5 years. Once this plan goes to the state, they review that and they approve it, it certifies that the town's done its due diligence and has set up a realistic plan to build more housing, which is, so it not only talks to us about what our needs are, but it also helps us to try to manage the type of housing that comes to town. And so it's a good thing for the community to do this plan and to keep it current.
What I find interesting is the clash between keep the character of the town and provide smaller units. Well, the only way to provide smaller units is to put smaller lots, because we know what land is worth here. So if a lot goes for sale and it's $300,000, you're not gonna put a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom house on it, because the lot is too valuable for that. So how do you deal with that? You break it into smaller lots, you have different zoning for that, and then that ends up clashing with keeping the character of the town. So a lot of these things I find very challenging with a town like Kingston, who really wants to keep its character, but also at the same time, you see that people want to have their kids be able to stay here. They want their parents to be able to maybe downsize, but there's nothing to downsize to. So I think that, in my mind, the only thing you can do is townhouses or condos, and that's about the only way to do it, to meet both of those goals.
Well, there are other strategies sort of considering for Kingston that didn't make, so I just submitted another housing production plan that I just wrapped up for the town of Abington for review, so that's going through the process. I had looked at this strategy for Abington, it wasn't going to work, but I think it could work potentially for the town of Kingston, and that's 40Y zoning, potentially. Are you familiar with 40Y?
No, there's too many 40s for me to keep up with the state.
Exactly, 40B, 40R, 40Y.
Most of them are things that the state has kind of jammed down our throats, so when it starts with 40, we have a bad taste.
Fair enough.
But go ahead with your 40Y.
People generally tend to like 40Y because they're smart growth, starter home zoning districts. So
Yeah.
there's no minimum sort of acreage that you need for a starter home zoning district. It could be as little as 1 acre. It could be as large as 20 acres, for example. The only requirement is that it's zoned for 4 units per acre. They're single-family homes under 1,800 square feet. And so if there is a place in town that would support sort of the development of smaller, what we think of as starter homes, the name is somewhat confusing because they're smaller homes designed for young professionals and sort of like your first home, but also provide opportunities for seniors who have larger homes looking to downsize into a smaller home opportunity, which would, because of the residential density, not the size density, but the residential density of a starter home zoning district, allows you to pack more single-family homes in a smaller area, which would allow you to sort of provide more housing opportunities for people without sort of changing the overall character of the neighborhood. Others would be maybe converting larger single-family homes into 2 families, So it looks and it retains sort of the look of a single-family home on the outside, but on the inside, it might be two-family, for example. So there's ways to sort of satisfy both, but you have to be really sort of strategic and sort of know the unintended consequences of these sort of changes, because you don't want to make sure you're zoning for something for it to be affordable and then have them be unaffordable and unattainable.
Well, the only thing we've done in that regard so far has probably been well, help me.
The apartments?
No, I'm thinking about smaller lots, preserving land,
Oh, like Elm
Rodeo?
Street?
rodeos.
Yeah, the rodeos.
And the thing with that people don't mind is that you end up with a small lot, but you preserve land.
Mhm.
I think, that, the hard thing about this town is people, whatever land is left, I can't see anybody in this town wanting it to be packed. You used the word packed. That's not a good word around here. With smaller homes, it's really a difficult thing to satisfy people, because so many people want the town to stay the way it is, and then there's other people that would love to downsize and stay here, but they don't want the town to change, and I don't know how you do both of those things.
Yeah, and I mean, that's largely up to me to try to figure out, I guess, how to solve that puzzle. But I will say that, which is why I sort of set an attainable goal of 30 new sort of unit, but the focus, I think, over the next 5 years is really around preservation of the expiring units, as well as sort of maybe looking at upgrading and updating some of the housing authority units, particularly if they're older and needs maintenance and repair. So I'll be looking at that portfolio as well.
Thank you. Anybody else besides me? Levin?
No, I was just thinking, the world is changing dramatically, and I think about Mr. Gudabone's, like his building. For instance, the food truck coming in and wanting to live above. I mean, people are, the younger generation they're thinking completely different, as opposed to having a, full-size home, we gotta maintain the yard and the body of the home and all these things. So I think that it's gotta be something that's on the horizon for us to be looking at for sure, because, yeah, like Tommy said, you have so many things that you're trying to maintain in this town, but we have to be realistic and see that there needs to be opportunities like that for people to live differently. And if that means live and work from a certain spot, and there's almost a beauty in that.
Well, I mean, the idea of maybe having full-size homes in a looser rule structure about allowing you to work on your own property might solve a lot of this problem. So where you have a home like you or I have, and we're allowed to do different things than we are now. So that you're not trying to lease a property and maintain your house, but you can do both at once. That, to me, sounds like something that Kingston could handle.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I agree.
Anybody else?
I mean, I look at like the older neighborhoods that have like third of an acre lots, those are great neighborhoods. We're never gonna see those built anymore. I've lived in an acre property, whatever, neighborhood, and I've lived in a third of an acre, and I would say it's a much better environment in the third of an acre neighborhood for kids. When you get into these acre properties, no one will let their kids out of the house because it's too far. Where, like in my neighborhood I grew up in, all the kids just ran around the neighborhood and had a great time with each other. It's too bad we can't change the zoning to be more friendly to smaller lots and smaller houses. But I guess maybe that will never happen.
Anybody else? Do you have any words of wisdom, Bob?
If only. No, cluster housing and stuff like that, from which I was familiar with when I was living in the Midwest. There were some great townhouse arrangements and stuff like that, offering, you know, 2.5 bedrooms and, 2-car garages all tied into them in relatively modest size. But as you get farther down the road, bigger doesn't necessarily make better. My God, there's just, you know, you don't need 2,000 square feet per person.
No. But that's what we all want.
I know, I had that and I didn't like it. It was
No.
too much to take care of, too expensive, too much to heat.
Yeah,
I prefer a smaller home with a big unheated garage.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
And Lord help you, if you lose your keys or your shoes in a big house, you spend all day looking for them, you know?
Well, I just want to thank Jason and also say that we're creating a page on the planning department website where people can see the draft and learn more about further outreach. The plan process is going to go on through the early part of the spring of next year.
Yeah, the project wraps up by the end of June 2026.
Yeah, and we're going to get the plan up to the state before that to get some comments, if any. So this is sort of an outreach to, you know, if people have questions, to encourage them to contact Jason directly. He's our primary consultant on this, or email me, and I can forward the questions to Jason. So this is just the beginning of the process, not the end, and we just wanted to reach out, let everybody know that we're doing this work and that we received these grants. And again, thank the Housing Trust, and this board is actually paying a little bit of the match as well to the grant. But we're lucky to have that grant from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, or what Jason lovingly referred to as ELOC.
Jason, I think this is very awesome, but one thing we didn't mention that I forgot to mention was ADUs. That's
Yes.
one thing we've done
Yep.
in this town that has worked out wonderful. I'm not really confident that it's gonna work out as well in the future. I think the state really blew it on this one, because we had ADUs which were,
Special permit, right?
special permit, dwelling units, added to a house, owner occupied. The reason why it has worked so well in this town is because it's owner occupied. So if you live in one of the units, whether it's the 900 square foot unit or the main house, you have say on who's there and how things go and all that. The state steps in, puts in ADUs, doesn't have to be owner occupied. I think this is a big mistake, and I hope that the state never goes backwards and corrects anything. So, but I think this is gonna create a huge problem for all these towns where we're gonna have, landlords, there's a different word for them. Slumlords come into these towns and just add these units onto properties, which gives you the units you want, but it's just not a workable thing. What we had going was a wonderful thing. It kept families together. It allowed someone to add a dwelling unit, rent it to a non-family unit, a non-family member. All of it was working out well. It was solving a lot of these problems with smaller dwelling units for younger people and older couples and older people. And now the state comes and jams us down our throat, and I think it's the worst thing that could have happened.
Well, ADUs will be part of some of the strategies around, so for example, thinking forward, something I like to use in like housing production plans are sort of design guidebooks for ADUs, so that you don't have to spend all of the money up front sort of having them designed. Like, what could it look like to have a catalog of already designed ADUs, plans that could be permitted quickly, to sort of take a lot of the financing off the front end, because ADUs, although are a tool in the toolbox, it's not the tool for the toolbox, and I think the state has much more of a optimistic view of ADUs sort of relieving the housing crisis than what it might end up doing, because they're expensive. It costs around $250,000, I think, to build an ADU in most communities in the OCPC region, which is out of reach. You have to take out a second mortgage in some cases in order to pay for that. So if we can make them easier, quicker, and more financially feasible to build, we will see some additional ADUs.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Very well done. I'm gonna study this a little closer. That one's going home.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It is.
A really good one.
It's really interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay. Thank
Mr.
you,
Chairman?
Jason. Town planner report,
Do you want to take number
presentation.
4 out of order?
I wonder if, now that, we, as a favor to Mr. D'Ambroso, scheduled him last so that he could attend a different meeting and then come here.
What is this for?
That would be the
Number 4.
appointment number 4.
Yeah, that's fine.
Would we consider taking that out of order?
Absolutely. Let's do it. We don't even have to vote. I'll make the executive decision on that one.
Thank you very much. You didn't need to shuffle for me, but I
Anybody opposed to me making that decision? Okay.
So I guess I can open it up. We have, this is the Ring Road Solar Project that we've heard about. It's constructed, it's been approved as a site plan. The last time we saw the group was in January of this year, and we're back with a very small modification to the existing site plans where, I actually forgot to bring them up because they're full-size plans, I apologize, but you had the smaller scale plans in your packets that we emailed out. And basically what we're doing is we're taking the gaps from where the cranberry bogs were gonna be fenced, and that's where the arrays are, they're inside the cranberry bogs. And then the idea behind the original site plan was that we would fence everything except for the outer edges of the deep water, and that would work with their cranberry growing operations. But going through the review process with the Conservation Commission and further conversations with the electrical inspectors, we've come up with a new plan which takes the fencing where you approved it already, but then adds fencing to close off those gaps. And so the request before you is two parts, the first part being the fencing. And Mr. D'Ambroso is here to present that, and also Ian Ward, who's the cranberry growing consultant that's been representing the solar array throughout the process, is here virtually to talk to any questions you might have about it.
And who's that?
Ian Ward?
Oh, that's Ian up there?
Yeah.
Ian's waving, okay. And what's your name, sir?
Rob D'Ambroso.
Okay, so before we open the floor up, I don't think Bob's very familiar with this.
No.
We had an application, what, 3 years ago? For cranberry bogs with solar arrays on the cranberry bogs to remain harvestable. So, I'll give you as quick of an update as I can. We were told that all the wires and anything dangerous would be 10 feet off the ground. Didn't turn out to be, because the supports were 10 feet off the ground, and then in between, the wires do this. So, turns out the supports are 10 feet off the ground, but the wires aren't. In addition to that, this project went forward. You're supposed to have all the footings inspected by the building inspector. You're supposed to have all the wiring, piping, underground piping inspected by the electrical inspector. None of these inspections were ever done, except for maybe the town of Plimpton, who did some on a limited basis, because it's split between Plimpton and Kingston. So they've been in a hold. There's investors that I'm sure are not happy. There's the town of Kingston that's not happy, the town of Plimpton that's not happy. There's just a whole bunch of unhappy people. And so we're trying to come to some kind of resolution. Am I right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right, so we're trying to come to some kind of resolution. So tonight is about, instead of partial fencing around the whole of the two properties, or maybe just one, two, but we'll find out of that as we go forward, and a bond
And I-
to do the work.
I just want to follow up that we have had a gap in our building commissioner position. And so in the interim, I've been working with the solar company, and we've all agreed to have a meeting when our new interim building commissioner steps in, and we're all going to talk through the inspections, because they did have engineers inspecting throughout the process. The communication fell apart between the town and the developing group. So it's not that there were no inspections done, it's just not in the expectation that we would normally have the process happen in the town of Kingston. So hopefully we can reach some agreement on that, and we're working on that meeting now. And I just wanted to emphasize that we believe there were inspections by their private consultants, and that we can bring this to some closure. But with that, I'd turn it back over to Rob.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Bouchard, and thank you, Ms. Massard, for kind of setting the stage here. So, yeah, this project, we're trying to clean up some odds and ends here, and one of which is was discussed here is the nature of the fencing. So again, just to summarize, the town, Kingston and Plimpton both, kind of made similar comments or requests that the array be fenced, for code or safety reasons, which occurred, and then kind of upon further review, I think the Conservation Commission had requested that it be fully fenced, and then kind of a ancillary question came up. All right, well, this is a dual-use project. It's agriculture and clean energy. Are you still going to be able to farm it with the full fencing? So again, the plan that you have before you looks like at least maybe someone has a full-size copy. I did deliver it, is to complete the fencing. So as you can see on the plan, it kind of has that. There's some small green, small delineated in green, or maybe we can put it on the screen, that show where the existing small gaps will be filled, so that we have a complete kind of perimeter fence here. That's also going to have some agricultural benefits, which Mr. Ward can speak to in terms of keeping deer out, which is important to the quality of the crop and food safety. So Ian can give you chapter and verse on that. I guess what I would say is, the addition of the fencing was a minor modification to the initial decision. This is even more minor than that. This is just truly just filling a couple gaps in the fencing. So again, we'd hope that the board would see fit to approve closing off the fence, which was again the town's request. We're happy to do it, but we are here to kind of respect the process and try to clean up our act on a couple of fronts, and this is one of them. So happy to answer any questions, but it's relatively straightforward, I think. Thank you.
All right, so I have a question for the board. Does the board consider this a minor, very minor modification, just continuing the fence around the project? I mean, it was a site plan anyway.
So we got concerns about the electrical, is that?
There's concerns about that, but there's concerns with the, well, there's a bunch of things. There's deer. I mean, the state recently had told bog owners that they can't get a permit to shoot the deer as a nuisance because they don't eat cranberries.
Okay.
Until someone shot one and found 7 pounds of cranberries in the,
I was going to say, Mr. Ward will give you
Yeah.
He'll speak to
7
that.
pounds of cranberries in the belly. So we know that they eat cranberries, especially people who hunt deer, like myself and Jonathan here. They eat cranberries whenever they can, especially when they get nice and red. And so you got that. You got the safety issue from the planning board's perspective. There's a bunch of different angles to this, but I think it's the best way to go.
So how would?
Kids skating on bogs and hanging from wires. Can you picture that one?
Well,
I can.
We were told that the wires would be out of reach.
But they're
Originally.
not.
And then, I mean, how is the deer like, every bog in town doesn't have a fence around it, so.
No, they're in the cranberries are getting eaten. So this will help with the cranberry situation.
All right, okay.
It's a real problem. The deer are a real problem.
I think.
And it will help with the safety situation.
Yeah, I mean, maybe could we let Mr. Ward give you 2 minutes about
Okay, yeah,
the
sure.
deer?
All right, go ahead, Mr. Ward.
Yes, thank you, Rob. And the chairman is right. I mean, the deer are an increasing issue on the bogs. And both
Excuse me a
from
minute, is it Will or Wood?
Ward, yeah.
Ward.
Ian, can you speak up a little bit?
Sounds like it says Will.
Yeah, hopefully, can you hear me all right
Yeah.
now?
Gotcha, go ahead.
Okay, all right, great. So yes, the deer are eating cranberries. There's no question about that. They're also doing some damage to puncturing the berries. And when they defecate on the bogs, that's also an issue when you're trying to fresh harvest, because the turds can look like, trying to not be graphic, but they can look like cranberries. So there's an awful lot of emphasis being put on food quality, food safety concerns now. And as a result of that, you'll probably be seeing more fences as the Department of Ag is looking into cost sharing for fencing, and growers are looking to incorporating that. So this is going to help our harvests in a good way. Having that be fully fenced is an advantage.
Great, I think it's a great idea.
So you're saying we're gonna see cranberry growers across southeastern Mass ask to fence their entire properties?
It's not, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's something that where growers, depending upon the type of berries they're growing and what their activities are, it's less important, I would say, for a food safety concern when you're water harvesting versus when you're dry harvesting. But I'd say, yeah, you're gonna see more and more of it. There's a lot of folks in Wisconsin that have gone this way. And you can do it in a way that doesn't interfere with the operation. But as more, we were just talking about development, right? As there's increased development, the deer are smart. They're hanging out closer to houses, and if you're in 500 feet of houses, you know, they can't be targeted. So, yeah, it is something that we're just trying to adopt with the times. And the Cape Cod Cranberry Growers Association is looking into ways just like this. Are there ways that are perhaps more humane in some ways that the deer, there's an aging deer hunting population as well. So we're just trying to change with the times.
Thank you.
Yep, so again, that's, I don't think there's really any downside I'd hope from the town's perspective, it's safety for the town, it's improves the agricultural practices for the grower. And again, I guess also from my client, the solar company's perspective, allows us to clean up some of the loose ends here on this project. As you noted, there's a couple others pending here, one of which was actually part of the agenda here, the decommissioning bond. Town council just gave us some comments on what we presented very recently, so we're going to work to get something that's satisfactory. We did agree to increase the amount of the bond substantially to account for the delay between when this project was approved and now, to kind of account for inflation. So again, we're working on that as well, but really tonight the focus is, the ask is to let us complete that fencing around the whole enchilada.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, that we're looking at this as two separate votes. We would like to take action on the request to post the decommissioning. I think we've come to a place where it's an agreement with a bond, correct?
Yes, agreement with, yes.
We don't have the final language, but we can motion that as a secondary motion. First, we want to vote on the site plan.
We'll vote on the site plan with the fences. I mean, the decommissioning bond is very common now with windmills and with solar arrays, because when they become of age, people just walk away from them. And so now there needs to be a bond in place for when these things become of age and they're useless, the entities don't just walk away from them and leave them for towns or whoever else to take care of. And, or leases that are leasing the property, whatever it is, that protects everybody involved. So that's what the decommissioning bond is. But first, if we could have a motion to approve the continuation of fencing around all the bogs, that would be wonderful. We'll do that in two different pieces.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised fence for the minor modification to the site plan.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Aye.
Second? Second, Bob. Okay, so, minor modification, site plan, continue the fencing around, which I think protects the bog owners with the deer, to protects the towns from, and kids from playing on the bogs and all that. I think it's self-explanatory. Any comments about, we have a motion on the table, we have a second. Any further comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, I mean, when we approved this, part of it was that the bog was still gonna be, available for people to walk their dogs and stuff, and now this is all changing. This will be the last one I approve of these things.
I'm
It's
not
been a moving
really,
target from day one. They keep changing it and changing it.
it's a new, it's kind of a new thing, so I agree with you. I'm not real happy with it.
Yeah,
But as far as walking dogs, it's private property.
yeah.
And in our area, people have seemed to think that they own all these bogs, and they walk their dogs, they do everything they want to do, they skate. They get mad at the bog owners if they sand their bogs because they can't skate anymore. For some reason, people around here think they own the bogs, and it's
I
private
don't see
property.
that.
Huh?
I lived on a bog with the Matthiases. I never saw that.
No,
So-
but I mean, this is what happens,
No,
people
it's-
think they own it.
It's real.
It's real, is right. I know, I'm friendly with bog owners. So anyway, yeah, it is, I don't like them either. So I'm with you on that.
Yep.
But on the motion to approve fencing around these bogs for safety and for other reasons, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No, yep.
Opposed is David, abstentions is none. So that's 3-1-0.
Okay, and then, because the board hasn't been meeting as frequently with the slowdown because of the water moratorium, I wanted to take time to actually go ahead and ask the board to move to enter into the agreement, subject to the final language from town council, for both the bond that's part of the agreement and the agreement. And then as that is finalized, we could ask you to come by and get signatures, rather than having to have another meeting. So-
Everybody fine with that?
Yes.
So we're talking about
So
just
that would be-
finalizing the negotiations between the lawyers.
Yeah, so.
Once that's done, we could just sign it, but we could vote on it tonight,
Yeah.
subject to, and you don't have to sign it if you're not happy with it.
Right, so that would be, so the motion, if someone chose to make it, would be to approve the bond language and enter into the agreement, subject to town council's approval.
I'll make the motion exactly as Valerie has just stated.
So moved, right?
So moved.
Do we have a second on that?
Second,
Seconded by David. Any further discussion on that, or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It's 4-0-0. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yep, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Ian, Ward, thank you.
Thank you all.
we definitely sold a bill of goods on that one, huh? Jesus.
Okay, town plan report. That would be you, Val.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna be brief. Wanted to give everybody the good news that Novel Landing subdivision, which is, I have my phone, can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay.
You're very soft-spoken, Val.
That's true.
Yeah, so you gotta be close to the mic because you have this sweet, lovely voice,
Thank you.
okay?
So, briefly, Novel Landing subdivision.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, is paved. So we had some, they were building those last houses, and during some of these amazing storms that we've had, where we've had like 100-year storm every other day, for parts of last summer, we had some issues with the drainage basin being at the bottom of the hill on that road. We were able to come up with some tweaks to the design, and also to the, it turned out they had started out with the basin being smaller than designed, which was one problem, and then there was some other issues, and then it turned out that there was some drainage coming in off of the main road, not the subdivision road, which was contributing more water than was supposed to be going to the design. So they've managed to get it to the point where the last huge rainstorm we had, there were no issues. So we're also really excited about that, because that's been really challenging.
That's
So,
been a big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of people weren't really tuned into it, but
yeah,
I've had conversations with Val about it. So originally it was designed to be this big, and it was made this big, smaller than it was supposed to be, which was one problem. And then the other problem was water coming off of Elm Street.
yeah. And so, and another thing I wanted to let the board know, or the public know, is that we received a grant for the Adina from Coastal Resiliency Program, and we received a grant from the Coastal Resiliency Program for some improvements to stormwater on Rocky Nook through the Conservation Department. So we're excited to start working on design options at the Adina to look at the Harbor Master's office and where it should be located, and whether or not the pier that's there for the landing can handle additional weight if the parking lot is paved, you know, lots of little detailed questions, and sea level rise, so that we get the right design that'll last a long time down the road. So we're really thrilled to have gotten that grant funding.
Yeah, but can I just butt in for 1 minute? So some people may or may not have noticed that the Idina, which is the River Street, was improved, parking lot brought up, the ramp improved, which left the drive on the way down in the original jetty at the lower level, and the property where the Harbor Master Shack is. That's what Val is referring to, raising everything up. And originally, I know there was a lot of people that wanted plans to move the building back against the hill. That's not feasible for most people involved. But anyway, that's what this is all about.
Yeah, and it'll give us the opportunity to look at all those options, and that's what the grant funding is for, before we go into full design, which we'll seek funding for that as well. I think we got, I wanted to say there was one more grant, but I can't remember what it is, so I'm gonna start now talking about the hazard mitigation plan update. I have a brief PowerPoint just to keep me on track in terms of what I'm talking about. We're doing the update, and hopefully I can manipulate the screen to, there we go. I just want to go over the process, timing, and next steps. So the hazard mitigation plan has a mission statement that was adopted in 2022 and goals that were adopted in 2022, and the group has decided to keep that the same in terms of, you know, the idea is protecting Kingston from hazards that happen by trying to mitigate through design ways to make those less of a problem when they happen. So what do I mean by hazard? We have these ranked in 2022 as flash flooding from storms, heavy rain, climate change, shoreline change from sea level rise, coastal flooding, dam failure, and nor'easters that bring ice and power outages and things like that. There are others, all the way down to like landslides and earthquakes, but obviously those don't happen very often. So the plan addresses those in a way that helps us figure out, well, what could we do if any of those things happen to make our response to it quicker, cheaper, easier on the residents. And we have to update it every couple of years. I think it's every 5 years that FEMA requires it be updated, and it helps us with our qualification for FEMA funding, as well as the insurance reduction that all of our residents get because we have an approved plan. This year, we were in line to get a grant to do this until the DOGE cuts eliminated the program that we were going to get the grant from. So we're doing it in-house through the town planner, and it's mostly a mapping update exercise and then going back through the risks to see what's changed since 2020, the last time we did this. And it's a long process, it's iterative, and there's going to be a lot more community outreach this time around because that's the emphasis that the state and the federal government want to see this time around with the update. We did pay Old Colony Planning Council stipend, a small amount of money to help us with the survey, and that's out now. There's hard copy at the library, hard copy at the Council on Aging, and then there's QR codes for everybody, which I'll pull up on my last screen. And it's also on the town's website, and we're just hoping that people will take a few minutes to fill that out, and give us some input on how they feel about these problems and issues that face the town. We have a committee that's pretty standard, that is unchanged from previous years. We're using Mr. Basler as our at-large person because he's been around for a lot of these storms. And Eversource is on our board as well. And Old Colony Planning Council is going to participate remotely when they're available to do so for these meetings. Our timeline has started. We're doing some initial outreach now. We're going through the process of reviewing what we call critical facilities, which includes something like a hospital, a school, a fire station, a cooling station, a cell tower, that kind of thing. And just making sure we have it current. You know, Eversource has done a lot of improvements to their substation, for example. So there's some changes, but not a lot. In January through March, we're going to go through all that information at the technical level, that committee I just mentioned. And then April through September, we're going to do a lot of heavier public outreach in terms of engaging with the Red Cross and other groups to just talk about responses to emergencies and ideas of what we can do. And then we use this plan for funding. And then once we're to the point where we're going to have it pretty much done and in draft form for everyone to review, it'll be posted for public comment and shared with our neighboring communities. And then it goes through the state and federal government for final review and approval. So it's going to take into 2027 to go through that whole process. And this is the QR code. If anyone's at home and wants to scan that really quick and take the survey, all two viewers could tune right in and do that. And we have a web page that we're still working on improving, but we do have a landing page on the planning department's website for the update. And I don't know if there's any questions.
Do you have any questions? No. Thank you for the information.
Okay.
I didn't know you were working on all that.
Yeah. Keep ourselves busy.
Thank you.
Thanks. And then while you've got me,
Yeah, I got you. I see
the
another
last
letter here.
item here is letter of support. And I prepared a draft letter of support. All of you have this in your packet at the end. And it's a broad letter. We've been working with Matt Dyer at the Old Colony Planning Council, and for years the town has talked about trying to extend the trail that runs along the waterfront in Plymouth that recently got more gaps filled in, that now you can go all the way from pretty much the Cordage all the way to downtown on this rail trail, and it's really neat. And the idea of extending the rail trail up and along in the rail right-of-way through town is something that we've been talking about with Old Colony Planning Council as well as neighboring communities. So Old Colony Planning Council's been reaching out to these different communities, and we just wanted to draft a letter of support that the Old Colony Planning Council can carry in their pocket. They've reached out to MBTA, and the idea here is that it's been done in other communities, why not here? We have some in-use and not in-use rail beds that could be contributing towards this rail trail link that we'd like to explore with MBTA and with our neighboring communities. And also, there's the way that trail could travel could bring you to Kingston's downtown, could connect you with the mall. So it could really, in times in the future, be a really cool access trail for people to get around and, you know, do different things. So that's what this letter is. It's just a general support for that exploration process and would help the Old Colony Planning Council with its outreach to the various other towns, other agencies.
I think it's amazing. If you go down to Plymouth and you see how many people walk that trail.
Oh, I walk it all the
My
time.
wife goes
I
down
love
there,
it.
you go down
I
there.
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Such
I
a
love
great
it.
It's
idea.
amazing. If we can connect that to
Oh.
different places,
Be
go
amazing.
right through Mark's property would be wonderful.
Yep.
Um,
Right
got the road
Be
going
right
right
next to
through there.
those
We could go right
residential
through.
apartments that
We
you're
can get
gonna
right
build.
through all those properties, and you're shaking your head over there? Okay. It would be really nice, and to make that longer and better would be awesome.
Oh, it'd be
So,
fantastic.
can we vote for a letter of support, and if we vote for that, then I'll sign this? Does anybody have a motion for that?
Yeah,
To support the letter?
I just had it for a half second. I'll make a motion for the letter of support for the regional rail trail connectivity efforts.
I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Anybody hate the idea? Oh, that's good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions is 4-0.
And I know it's close to kickoff. I had one more announcement I wanted to make, because I'm thinking of Monday Night Football and people that want to tune into that. But the other thing that we got word on just tonight, at about 4:30 or 5 p.m., we got notice that all of our efforts to put the exit, not exit 20 itself, but the adjacent intersection by Big Y, the Route 3A and 53 intersection, has made it into the tip for hopefully, we're moving forward with long-term planning to make that into what we hope would be a roundabout.
Nice.
So we're really excited about that. We just got the word from the state today, and we're working with our consultant to see if we can take those next steps and do some outreach. And we've asked the state to try to help us continue with the funding for Exit 20, and we'll continue to work on that. I don't think I have any other updates right now, so thank you.
Thank you, Val, for all your hard work. Thank you, Paula, because you're amazing.
I
So
just,
pleasant all the time.
Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
I just want to say, before we close the meeting, that this town is very, very blessed to have Valerie and all the hard work that she does and the grants that she works on, and that the grants that this town are getting. And it's tireless, and it's an effort that she puts in that I don't think a lot of people realize. So I just want to say thank you, Val. And I hope people realize, if you are the two people watching, that,
We have a big following.
yeah, that you see what Val does for us in this town. And I just from my heart want to say thank you.
Thanks.
Ditto.
Thank you very much. I enjoy doing it. I'm a resident, so I'm motivated.
That's great. I think you would be anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so do we have a motion to close the meeting?
So move.
Second?
All those in favor?
Say aye.
We're now closed.
you.